and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Hannah.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is the You Talkin to Me podcast. Today, we are talking about a movie called ParaNorman.
It's our last episode of season 2. And because we're so close to Halloween, I wore my nice orange sweater. Hannah's got kind of a black hoodie on. Hannah counts.
Yeah, it's close enough. I don't have any Halloween festive things, but I tried.
That's
I didn't
all that
actually
counts.
try.
It's the thought that counts post putting on your clothes.
Yeah. I have black pants on, so black on black. Well, it's black and gray. That's close enough. Okay. Well, disclaimer, we were going to watch a different movie for this that Rachel chose, and she has terrible taste.
Look, we all remember the B movie fiasco from last week. We both watched that as children and then realized it's weird AF. And you know what? The same happened with Monster House. That would play on like either Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network or something every Halloween. And you know what? I thought it was good as a kid because I'm a child and I have poor taste in things. Kids don't have good taste.
Well, I think maybe as a child, you wouldn't pick up on some of the stuff that they thought would be adult humor. And it's just like the worst personality traits you've ever heard of in anyone. They're all in there. And I was like, no, I got 5 minutes in and I was like, no, absolutely not. I can't.
What traumatized you so bad about this 5 minutes of the movie you watched?
I honestly think mostly the dad is like just the worst human. And then no one believes this kid about this old man across the street who's stealing tricycles from toddlers and ripping them apart. And he's like the size of a toothpick. And so this old crotchety man who can barely walk is going to be able to rip apart a friggin' metal tricycle. Yeah, I think so. That sounds legit. I don't know. It's just, and then the grass was like eating things. I don't know. It was a lot. Like the house was alive. And that was definitely a Cartoon Network show, because let me tell you, that was not on Disney.
Well, can I just say that Steven Spielberg is one of the executive producers, and he's kind of a big deal. I can't believe you would, dislike anything he would ever make.
Well, you go watch it and tell me what you think.
No, don't you understand, Hannah, that once you're famous and successful, as a man, nothing you do can be bad.
Oh, true.
Everything you do is star-studded and wonderful, and you can't dislike it.
Yeah, I forgot that. So I just have piss poor taste because I'm not an old white man. Oops.
So get over yourself. This was, a work of art. Try again next year, maybe.
Okay. Yeah, this ain't got nothing on Disney shows like Don't Look Under the Bed or Halloween Town, or I don't know what else was on Disney Channel. Oh yeah, Hocus Pocus. I feel like there was another scary one on Disney Channel. I know Don't Look Under the Bed like traumatized me. I would run and jump onto my bed.
I don't know any other scary ones, but like Twitches.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
That one was good. One time around Halloween, I found a live YouTube video that was just playing Twitches over and over and over again for like hours. Like,
that sounds like how I would need to spend my day. Hello.
Anyway, but we didn't watch any of those movies. We watched ParaNorman, and it's on Netflix. So here's our recap of that.
And my recap is ParaNorman is a movie about a boy named Norman who can interact with dead people. Norman has found out that he needs to stop a witch's curse. Zombies start to fill the town, and Norman has to convince the townspeople that the zombies are just like them and not harmful. Norman goes to the witch's grave and has to help the witch sleep eternally to end the curse.
Dun, 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 dun.
Oh.
Hannah and I are on the same wavelength. Okay, so quickly, before we kind of like get into what we liked, what we disliked, or whatever, I'm going to kind of just set up some of the rules of this world because, well, Norman is talking to dead people, which means that there are dead people in this world that are visible and they have rules as to why they exist. So Norman can see and talk to ghosts. Okay. And ghosts only stay if they have unfinished business or if they die tragically or suddenly, which I think is only they only added that in for one specific case in this movie, but I think it was fine, so I didn't really care. They live in a town called Blythe Hollow, which is famous for a witch being executed. And then while she was being executed, she put a curse on the town. That happens every year. Norman's uncle, which his family doesn't really have anything to do with, has been in charge of putting the curse to sleep every year. And now, this is a little bit of a spoiler going into the movie, but now partway through the movie, his uncle dies and Norman is in charge of it and has to find a way to put the curse to sleep kind of for good. So that's kind of the background of the film, or like what we're working with and what the confines are of this world. So I just wanted to get that out there just so when we're talking about things, we kind of understand, where they're coming from.
Yeah, I think that was good to introduce that to the audience because I feel like it's not complicated, but it's also not like the easiest storyline. Would you agree?
Yeah, it was really intense. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't understand, but then they did get to a little bit later. Because actually Norman doesn't just see and talk to dead people, he can also see like bad omens or whatever, which was really confusing when it was coming up because I didn't understand that at all when it was happening, because like the world would like burn away like paper around him, and then he could like see the ghosts and dead people and stuff like that then. And I was like, what the heck is happening here? Because this is definitely taking me out of the world that I thought was established of just him seeing dead people. But then his uncle like approached him at school after like stalking him or something and kind of explains what's going on and how he needs to go get the stuff or whatever, and he's going to be in charge of this stuff soon because he's just like him.
Well, it wasn't at the school. They were walking home. Norman and what was that guy's name? Norman
Neil.
and Neil. Yeah, they were walking home and they were by some weird statue. And then the
I thought
uncle
that
like
was at
pops
the
out, but
school.
oh, maybe it was. I thought they were walking home. And then Neil was like talking about how this man was homeless or whatever. And then it's revealed that it's Norman's uncle.
Yeah, because he's like,
Um,
I was told not to talk to you and stuff like that. But at first, at the beginning of the movie, the way they were talking about the uncle, the dad, and the mom, and like, oh, I don't want him to end up like your uncle, and like he was like really conservative, right? And talking about like how he's like okay, I'm just gonna say some of these things are very anti-gay that he said, but he like called him like limp-wristed and stuff like that, which I was like, bro. Anyway, so there was that and things like that. And then immediately talked about his uncle. So I thought the uncle was gay until I realized that he just saw ghosts like Norman, which, if you know that the uncle is like this and Norman has had like no interaction with him, why don't you believe Norman can also see ghosts? Like, he's trying to act
right.
like this is a phase because the grandma died recently and things like that.
Yeah, and like, why wouldn't you believe him? Or is it that they just don't want to believe? Yeah, because the grandma who is the dad's mom has passed away recently, we find out. And Norman can see her and communicate with her. They like to watch scary movies together, and she likes to sit on the couch and they're like, your grandma's dead, like she's not here anymore. And then Norman says something about like his sister comes in, Carolyn, that's her name. She comes in
It's
and
Courtney.
she says something. Courtney?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I swear to God, her name was Carolyn. I would have like bet money on it. It's
Hannah,
Courtney?
yeah, Hannah's really good with names, just so everyone.
Yeah. No, I
I don't
can
know if
watch
you
a whole
watched
series of a show and not have a clue who's named what.
I don't know if you watched the Everything Sucks podcast, but really good there. But honestly, yesterday I was watching The Middle and we were like episodes in, and I was like, wait a minute, what's the mom's name? Like I had to like sit there for like 15 minutes and just think about it because they didn't say her name after that. And I was like, oh crap, come on, I can think of it. I know it. So I understand, but no, it was Courtney.
Oh, okay. I wrote down Carolyn. Good thing I got that right. Hey, I got a C. That's close. Close. Okay, so Courtney comes in and that's more fitting for her too. So that makes me happy. Um and she says something, or like they all are talking about how Norman is seeing dead people again, or like saying he can see them. And they're like, just stop. And Courtney's like, oh yeah, like prove it or something like that. And then he's like, oh, well, in your underwear drawer, you have a picture of some guy or whatever. And she's like, stop looking at my things. And he's like, I didn't look there, grandma did.
Oh my gosh, the twist though, right off the bat that the grandma is dead. I didn't see that coming because I didn't know that Norman could see dead people, right? That was such a good twist. Literally not at all where I thought that was going. And I loved that. But the grandma's like really important at the beginning because she has like these two quotes that she says that are kind of the theme and the solution to this film. So the theme, I think, because it comes back in the end as well, she goes, there's nothing wrong with being scared as long as you don't let it change who you are, which comes back at the end when Norman is talking with Eggie about the
Aggie is the witch.
yes, talking to her about being scared and why she's hurting all these people and things like that. And then I believe she also said the line, if they just bothered to sit down and talk it through, it would be a different story. So what that's referring to is the mom and dad fighting about something, and she was just offhand it says this line, but that is how Norman decides to like solve the problem at the end instead of just doing the reading the story like he was told he's supposed to read this bedtime story to her because she was really young. She was like 10 or 11 or 8 or some really young age when she got executed for believing to be a witch. So he's supposed to do this and supposed to put her to sleep every year until the next year when the curse comes back. But she fights back and she's like, I'm definitely, you can't do that to me again. But also he comes up with the solution to like sit down and just talk to her face to face, like, why are you doing this? Why are you hurting people? And kind of that's then when the theme comes back as well. And my question real quick, Hannah, is does fear actually change a person, or is that just something that they kind of have for this film? Like, have you ever had fear change who you are?
Okay, before I answer that, I'm just gonna say, so my personality is I pick up on the other things, and she was 11. I remember that distinctly. She was 11. That's the type of thing. I'll know the age, I'll know what color clothes they're wearing, that sort of thing, what their favorite food was 8 years ago, what their name is, not a clue. That's how I am about people in real life, though, too. I'll meet someone and I'm like, hi, nice to meet you. And then, like, a minute later, I'm like, what's their name? Not a clue. Not a clue. Okay. Does fear change people? Do we mean long term or momentarily?
Well, I think it momentarily / long term changed Aggie until someone like brought it up to her, but she also had a really big thing happen to her. So I guess either way, like, what is your answer for either option?
Okay. Well, I think that momentarily or short term for sure it can change the way you're acting. For example, I'm not typically a person that's like having a sailor's mouth. Like I definitely don't never swear, but I'm not someone who's like cursing all the time. If I go to a haunted house, honestly, the only words coming out of my mouth are expletives. It's just like beep, 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 beep. I can't help it. I really can't. And I will like hit someone in the face. Like I will punch you. I will run. I turn into like some gorilla. And that is my personality trait in a haunted house. So when I'm scared, I change. Okay. Maybe I'm the Hulk. I just like I'm like, get me out of here. I don't know. Um, and long term, I think if something traumatizes you, you can get scarred and change the way you act. Like, let's just say something scared you, like one time you were walking by a car and under the car there was a snake and the snake bit you when you were walking by. Well, I'm assuming for the foreseeable future, every time you're going by a car, you're going to be looking for a snake there, so it changes you in that way, in my opinion. What do you think on that?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially like the word trauma you used, because fear, a lot of the times, immediately people will think of like haunted house or scary movie or things like that, like being scared of something like that. But it could be, fear of something happening again, right? So let's say, both your parents died at a young age and they were the only people like close to you, or you had a pet run away shortly after something really bad like that happened too. And now you could be, afraid of getting close to people and not letting people in because all the people close to you always leave you and things like that. And so you change yourself, put walls up and things like that. So I think that's really an interesting quote, an idea from this kids movie, because holy crap, that's like really deep. But I think that's really interesting because I've never really thought of fear changing a person. Like I've separated fear from trauma, from other feelings, like that, from sadness, etc., or anger and whatever, but those can all be even side effects of the fear. So I think that's really a good point of, the trauma aspect and things of that.
And that's why, like, when you interact with someone, you never know why they're acting the way they're acting, right? And so someone could just be acting out of a fear response to something you said or a situation they're in, or it's anxiety, or who knows what else. But that's something to just consider too, is that sometimes someone had something happen in the exact situation you're in, and it's like, oh, well, you didn't even know that, and that could have traumatized them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I'm not saying every time somebody is acting out and being a bad person like Aggie was doing in this movie. I mean, she was literally destroying the town, sending zombies through the like town and things like that. So, I'm not saying that every time something bad happens it's out of fear, but I mean, it could also, people could be acting out of fear of backlash for not doing the things that they're doing, and that's why they're not being themselves and things like that. I mean, that happens all the time,
Yeah, that
whether,
makes me think of like gay people. Like a lot of times, the most closeted people when they're younger, like if they know they're gay and they're really closeted, will be like really big homophobes, and they'll be like bullying the people that are outwardly gay because they are jealous of them,
mm-hmm.
And so that's just what I'm thinking. So maybe she's just so terrified and she's like hurt and she wants to see other people get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, she does kind of say that too, is like, they hurt me, so now I want to make them suffer, because she was like wrongly accused. And I mean, an 11-year-old being executed is really intense for a movie geared towards children. Like, that is nuts. And like, you think that only could happen the 300 years ago that it happened, right? Except it's about to happen again with Norman when he like is standing, he's been the weirdo who can see ghosts as a kid for a while. Everyone knows this about him. He doesn't have any friends. Well, like he pushes them away, but also they don't want to be friends with him most of the time, until Neil, who is also another like quote unquote loser because he's overweight, comes by. And like people, he is more like, what are they gonna do? Like, what am I gonna do about it? Like, I'm fat, who cares? Which is very sweet to have as a personality trait at 11 as well. Like, I don't know if I could be that strong. And so, like, Norman is already like the town weirdo because of this. And then because of the curse going out of hand, because I'm guessing the uncle usually like nips it in the bud like right away or something, that this doesn't like happen very much or as intensely as it did. Otherwise, they'd have to redo the town every single year because it got utterly destroyed. Like they're ready to literally burn him at the stake as an 11-year-old in, I'm just going to say 2010 because that's when this movie like was made, but like in a year not so far from 2010. That's crazy. Like, what do you think about that? Like that, I mean, fear changed them to like want to murder a child because he does some scary things.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. And then that made me think about the virus and like the way people changed and how everyone was like hoarding toilet paper. Like, obviously, that's not the same, but people just change with fear because I think it's the unknown. And like when something's different, you don't like different. I think we're trained to grow up to believe that people with differences or change are bad. Like, and I don't understand why. We should understand that change is good and differences are good. That's what makes us all humans. We shouldn't all be the same because that's boring. It's like in the book, I think there's a movie too, The Giver, about that story. There's a storyline of like everyone had to be the same. Um, they like, and then you can only have so many kids, and like I don't know, it just is making me kind of think of that right now, even though this movie is not at all the same as that, but that's
Yeah, and people
what
don't
this
see
topic.
colors in that book and things like that. And this one guy can see like red and like see the past, and like only certain people know the facts of the world. And and it's only usually like one-ish person a generation, or like skips a generation or whatever, because this giver guy was like really old, right? And so like when this kid like he discovers that he does it, he has to pass on all the knowledge to this guy, and some of them are really intense and things like that. So that's like really scary, and his parents like are worried about it, and people he has to like escape, because everything goes wrong. And so that happens a lot, and like people want to control what they don't understand. And it's not, I mean, he's not harming anyone by being able to talk to his grandma in this movie. He's not harming anyone by walking down the street and introducing himself to every ghost he sees, which that was an interesting just little moment at the beginning where like every step of the way there's another dead person, right? Which makes me think like, oh my gosh, how many dead people are literally like in my room right now, like just chilling. And they're not all bad. Like, why are we always like ghosts are scary? And I think it's the unknown part of it again. And people, making all those scary movies about, dead people are scary. So, which understandable. But that was just another interesting thing. And I liked him being like introducing himself to like the lady in the tree and like the random hippie dude and just any ghost that was just on his walk to school. And everyone was like staring at him like a freaking weirdo, which, yeah, it looks weird when there's nothing there. But is it hurting you? It's not hurting him. Like, who cares? And you know what he's doing.
True. Or they just think that he's like crazy and talking to himself. I'm looking at like all the points of this movie I wrote down is like the plot was happening, and there was just a lot that happened in this movie, and it wasn't that long. It was an hour and a half, and there was just a lot of things that happened. The one thing I wish they explained more was, why did that uncle die? Like, what, he was like 40.
Yeah, but he looked like 800. He like kept
Okay.
having heart attacks and stuff. I don't know. He probably had congenital heart failure or something. That's just me, not a doctor, diagnosing somebody. So the something that I found very funny was when he like died and the ghost like started coming up, and then he like was alive again. And he's like, oh yes, they didn't get me. And then he dies like 3 seconds later. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, this is where Rachel and I have different senses of humor. Because I don't think I found a single second of this movie funny. But this is okay. So, what was your opinion on this? Because this is where I know we have a different opinion on the whole movie. Like, what would you rate it?
Okay, so my like little blip is that it was creepy, not necessarily scary, but fun. I thought it was interesting the whole way through, and I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. I would watch it again, but it was creepier than I thought it was going to be.
I thought it was weird, unenjoyable, not interesting, and I would not recommend it. I definitely would never watch it again. I give it a 3 out of 10, and that's only because Anna Kendrick voices Courtney, aka Carolyn.
Well, I am okay. If she wasn't in the movie voicing this person, would you give it a 4 or a 5?
No, I'm saying it got higher because of her. It would be a 1,
Oh, you
maybe a
liked
0.
Anna Kendrick. I thought
Yeah,
you didn't like Anna Kendrick.
no, she's great. Otherwise, yeah. So that boosted the score. I would maybe give it a 1 without her
What
voicing.
was your biggest like point that made it just like, I can't believe this movie exists?
The whole thing. I don't know. I don't know if it's the animation style. I don't know if it's because it's literally so stupid, like the way people are talking. I don't know if it's the storyline. I don't know if it's just like all of it together. Um, the last like 2 minutes of the movie were the most enjoyable. That's
Wow.
what I have to say. It kind of is like a recurring thing with me that the end of the movie redeems itself. And I'm not saying it redeemed itself in the last few minutes, but the last few minutes, I wasn't like, oh my God, this is slow. The rest of it, I had to have at as fast as Netflix can play it, which is 1.5 speed. And it still felt like it's going on. I watched it in like 4 settings and I was like, it was much better than the other movie Rachel wanted me to watch, but it's still never again. Absolutely not.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe you. Oh my
I don't know
god.
if it's just like geared toward children and I just like
Well,
don't like that or what.
if it is, I thought what age group is this supposed to be for? Because there was some real scary parts of it, like the whole Aggie scene of her as a witch, like, and all of the explosions and like the voices and the faces, like she would like, her face would like have multiples of it, like glitching out. I was like, absolutely not. If I was under 10, I would not watch this. If I was under 13, I'd probably be scared. And now, like from that age on, it's just creepy. But I was like, who is this for? Because what was it rated? Do you know?
I don't. I can look it
Because
up, but
they
I
called it a
think
kids movie on IMDb when I was looking up some of the fun facts and stuff. They specifically said it was a kids movie.
yeah, I don't know. Well, to me it's like geared at I'm thinking of when my brother and I were like 13 and 11. We would always play these weird video games, which if we look at them now, they're like terrible. Like it was all about killing and there's blood and gore and or we'd play a game called Nazi Zombies, things like that. And I'm thinking it's geared towards that 11 to 13-year-old range child. I swear, oh, PG. I
I'm
didn't think it was that creepy. Like, I
I
mean,
did.
it is
I
creepy, but I think it's more weird.
Well, but here's the thing is like we thought like the Droon and Raya and the Last Dragon was creepy and like whatnot. And there was some other movie we watched that had something really creepy in it. But this movie was like,
Those
oh
soul
yeah.
sucker things.
But this movie was like all creepy, like with creepy undertones and stuff for me.
Yeah, I don't know, but I will say I watch Raya with my little 2-year-old that I nanny sometimes, and she is not phased at all by those drones. What she doesn't like is the very beginning sequence when Raya is fighting with Ba, like the sword fight scene. Like that's what she says, no, I don't like this, scary. And so we skip past that, and then she has no problems with the things that turn you to stone.
I wonder if it's because it's more realistic, maybe.
Maybe.
And fighting is just bad.
Yeah.
And maybe growing up in a household with lots of cooking, she knows knives are bad and swords are bad. They're just big knives.
True. We always are telling her, no, you can't have the knife.
Oh my gosh, the cutest thing my sister and I would do when we were younger is whenever we'd go to a restaurant, even if it was a butter knife, like if we got a knife in our little like pack of silverware, we'd always give it to our parents. I don't know
That's so
why we
cute.
started doing that. Like I don't remember them like taking them away from us or anything. Like they probably did, but I don't remember that like as a very pivotal moment that would cause us to be like, Mom and Dad, get the knife. Here you go, Mom and Dad. You know, it was just like cute. We would do that for like so long. I don't know when we stopped, but I thought that
Here's
was so.
how we differ. I mean, it wasn't when I was a child, but then I was the one over there cutting up what were the what are those things called? Coasters? Yeah, like the little paper ones you get.
Yeah.
And I have a scar on my finger from where I sliced it with a steak knife because I was at a local restaurant called the Tavern United, and I remember, and then I was just sitting with my hand under the table holding it because I didn't want to tell anyone I just sliced my finger open.
How old are you?
I don't know. Like, honestly, I could be anywhere from like 10 to 15 for all I know.
And you're just
I
sitting there
think
like,
just
I'm
younger.
fine. Nothing just
Yeah.
happened. You
I
didn't
was
see
like,
anything.
I can feel my heartbeat in my finger, but I'm good. There's blood spurting out, but I'm good.
Oh, oh my gosh. I love the Tavern United, by the way, people. They've got great wings. And like Wednesday and Thursday are like half off wings or something if you get a drink, and it's wonderful. So, regardless, back to the movie. This was one star-studded cast, as always with the weirdest movies we watch. It had Anna Kendrick as Courtney slash Carolyn. The guy who plays McLovin was Alvin, which I thought was good casting, by the way. Then we have Jeff Garlin was the dad, and he's in like the Goldbergs. He was in one of the Cars movies, one of the Toy Story movies, etc. John Goodman again making an appearance in one of our films. He was the uncle Prendergast or whatever his name was. And then Leslie Mann, I can't explain why she's famous, but I just like recognize the name, but she was Norman's mom. We have Casey Affleck as Mitch, who I have a fun fact about in a second. And then this kid named Tucker Albrezi, who he's in Good Luck Charlie. He was in The Big Bang Theory. He played Neil. So I mean, these are like when I saw the people and saw their names, I recognized them. I don't always know why they were famous. I had to look up some of them, but their voices, I was like, who are these people? I know them. So again, weird movie with people they don't deserve as the voices, like making great appearances. But real quick, fun fact is that Mitch, who is the typical jock older brother of Neil, is the first openly gay animated character in a kids show. Because at the very end of the movie, Courtney has been falling for him this whole time. He's this big buff, like hot guy, right? And Courtney's been in love with him and like pining after him. And I don't remember what she said at the end, but he was like, oh yeah, my boyfriend loves chick flicks. Like you would get along with him or something. And I was like, let's go. So we love to see it.
Yeah, I love that because especially that they don't have him as a stereotypical gay person. You know, he's like big and macho and lifting
It's
weights.
the opposite of the stereotypical gay person, which is true for the world because you can't just look at somebody and know their life. So that's just good representation. And I know they used it partially as a joke, but it meant a lot to people.
What did you think about the way that they portrayed the zombies?
I thought that they did a good job because some of them were like really gross with like their jaws hanging, like the skin hanging from their bones and stuff. Like they looked cool, but I have a hard time believing that they weren't there to attack people because they were like kind of attacking people or trying. It looked very much like they were going after people to hurt them at the beginning. And then all of a sudden they're like, they're not harmful. They're just, they're just like you. They're people like you and things like that. I don't know. It seemed like it flipped for me for a second, but maybe that's just because I was interpreting it that they look dangerous. But what did you think? What did you think about that flip?
Well, in the beginning, I think I thought the same thing as you, that they were coming for them. But if we go back to that quote about how fear changes you, then at one point they put us in the eyes of the zombies and how they're just terrified of the humans. So they're just acting out like because they're scared of these humans, and it might look like they are coming at you, but really I think they were trying to hide. And I've also never seen a more American thing than these zombies are coming after this man, like, who is presumably going to be eaten by the zombies, right? And he's at this vending machine trying to get, they call them like fatty crisps or something, or I can't remember, but it's potato chips. And he runs away, but then he comes back and gets his chips. And I was like, yeah, that's America
Oh no,
for you.
here's what I thought couldn't have been more American. Um
Strip
one
club.
some of the
And that too.
people some of the people brought out their guns to shoot the zombies, okay? And the police lady goes, "What are you doing shooting at civilians? That's for the police to do." I
Yeah,
was
all
like,
three of those moments are very American, I would say.
this is a very American made movie, I will say. Like, seemed very American to me. But it was just dumb. I was like, but here's another funny moment to me was when they're like scared of the zombies. Like, there's two that are very similar in moments to me. They're like scared, but then Norman kind of convinces at least his parents that the zombies aren't going to murder them, and he's like, "Dad, can we borrow the car?" And all of a sudden they're in the car and the zombies like in the middle like driving in the back seat. I just like the visual of that with like the like elevator type music was just funny to me. And then also I did really enjoy the back and forth between, what was the scene? It was scary in the building. I don't remember. Oh no, it was at the graveyard, I think, with Norman and Alvin were together, and it was like a scary moment. I think all the zombies were coming up, and then it would flash to Courtney, Mitch, and Neil like in the car driving, and Courtney's like all obsessed with Mitch, and he's like dumb, and Neil's like, "Oh, this is so gross and annoying," and like the contrast of like the really intense moment to like the goofy moment of Courtney trying to convince, Mitch, like, "I love my brother. Oh my gosh," because like Mitch is with his brother, so she assumes that they're like best friends or something. So she wants to seem like very kind and thoughtful about her family. I thought that contrast was pretty good. Did you find that at least amusing or well
I think
done?
that'd be a fitting word, would be amusing. And I suppose it breaks up the, if you're scared of it or whatever, it just like breaks it up and it adds that element of humor into it. Didn't like it, but glad you liked it.
What did you think about the animation style though? This was in stop motion, which is one, like, extremely time consuming and difficult. I would never do that. I don't understand why anyone likes it, like doing it, because it takes like 300 million hours. But what did you think about like how it looked in the style?
Are we just like in general or compared to other animation?
Both. I mean, what did you like or dislike about the stop motion style?
Well, I honestly think that for like the zombies and I mean just the dead people in general, I liked the way it looked, but I think for the main characters I didn't like it. Like overall I didn't like it. Um like compared to more real looking animation. And maybe it's just like the way that people were. Like I think the only person who didn't bug me was Neil, like the way he looked. But I just didn't like the way everyone else was. What did
They're
you think?
definitely caricatures of characters. Like they were like exaggerated versions of whatever archetype they were trying to be. Like Courtney had huge hips and these big lips and like fake nails and like whatever. And Mitch literally was like, I don't know, like huge on the top and had like a 1-inch waist. Like it was ridiculous and stuff. And I didn't mind how Norman looked, but
His hair.
I thought it was fun. I do have some fun facts about the stop motion and things like that real quick. So this was one of the first stop motion films that used 3D printing and like 3D stuff to make the different faces of the characters, which I mean that makes sense because it could be really difficult to have to make all the different facial expressions and stuff out of the materials that they normally use. So they 3D printed a lot of them. There was like, I think like over either 3,000 or 30,000 like faces or something. It was ridiculous. To generate the 3D effects that they had throughout the movie, the camera was mounted on like this special rig that would take one shot and then slide to a slightly different viewpoint of the same thing and take another shot, which that's kind of how they do stop motion. It's like shift everything, take a picture, basically. Shift everything, take a picture. Shift everything, take a picture. It'll take like a bazillion shots for 30 seconds of the movie, which is why I could never, if I had to work on a stop motion film to do anything except for run and like go get their lunch and stuff, you couldn't pay me enough. I'm like, that is too tedious. That is obnoxious. I understand. So I think, isn't Nightmare Before Christmas also stop motion? I'm like almost 100% positive on that. But the style looks so similar to like nowadays. It was made in like 93. And this movie was made in 2010. And because like technology of the cameras changes basically, and that's it, like creating the characters out of the materials you use is going to be pretty much the same. It does not look like it's a 20-year difference, which I think is interesting. And that's why a lot of movies that don't use special effects are more timeless than the ones that do, because special effects ages the movie. But like Jurassic Park, the original, it looks way better than some of the newer stuff, or looks like it could be, regardless, like if you ignore like what they're wearing or what they look like, you know. But that's interesting. But my last fun fact about the stop motion was at the very beginning, we mentioned that the grandma and Norman love watching scary movies. Well, they're watching this terrible scary movie, right? And the creators said that animating the bad cheesy horror film at the beginning was really difficult because they had to purposely make it bad with like the angles and like being out of focus, and like there's a camera boom in like the picture or whatever, while also having to work within the very technical, demanding confines of stop motion animation. So they said that was one of the most difficult parts of creating it because of that.
That's so interesting, but I guess that makes sense. I never would have thought of that though.
Yeah, it'd be like trying to, and it looked like a good cheesy bad film, right? Which I think is harder because at the time when the people are making these cheesy bad films, they're not trying to make it bad. It's just poorly executed and people love that. Whereas if you try purposely to do it now, it's harder than just actually being kind of bad at it, because it's just bad enough to where, you know, people could think it was, some people, like the people making it, could think it was good, but it's like not so bad that like no one would buy it or make it or whatever, you know, like they thought they were doing something here. And I think that is just another like accolade towards the people who created this. Then Hannah, I've got one last thing. I think I can guess probably some of your least favorite parts of this movie. Based on me knowing you, I think I can guess some of your least favorite parts. The both of these have to do with the uncle. Okay.
I know you know one of them because yes.
One of them is when he approaches Neil and Norman at the statue and he's trying to explain to Norman what he has to do and stuff. He's like coughing and wheezing all over these people. Like he's all up in their faces. And I'm like, Hannah doesn't do germs. Also, COVID, absolutely not. And now I'm like, ew, but if someone was coughing in my face, I'd actually just punch him in the face and go. I'd be like, get out of here. I hope you're dead. So that's one of the things I think I just know you hated.
Yeah.
The other one that I think is worse is when Norman's trying to get the book out of his hands.
Yes.
So when the uncle is already dead, okay, Norma's trying to get the book out of the dead uncle's hands, but he's like hardened already. I don't remember what that's called.
Is that called rigor mortis?
Yes. So he's already like gone through that. So he's already hardened up and he has a death grip, pun intended, on this book. And so Norman is doing everything he can to try and get it off. And eventually he like gets it, but then the uncle like starts slowly falling and lands on Norman and his tongue falls out of his mouth and hits Norman on the face. Hannah, I need your reaction right now.
I was like, why? I'm trying to think. I remember writing it down, but I guess I just wrote gross. It said Norman gets book and dead uncle falls on him and tongue flops on him. Gross. I was like, what the hell? This is nasty. No one needed this. I don't care who you are. That's not funny. That is absolutely disgusting. No.
Look, I said if I walked into that house and all of those bugs and crap accosted me, I'm going to allow the witch's curse to kill everyone, hoping it'll kill me as well. Then, if I made it past all of that and a dead man licked me, I will do the honors of being the first person the witch's curse murders. I'll be like, take me first. And I don't care what you do after that because I'm gone. I had a dead person lick me. I cannot live on this world anymore.
Yeah, this is disgusting.
It wasn't funny. I'm like, I know they wanted it to be funny and maybe a kid would think that's funny. Like, ew, gross, because they think like farting or whatever is funny. But like, what was the point of this?
That changed me. That is the fear that changed me.
Hannah, you can't let fear change you. You can be scared as long as it doesn't change who you are. Oh my gosh, my stomach is growling. I hope it's not picked up by the microphone.
I can't hear it.
Good. But okay, let me see. Overall, I like the movie. I thought there's a lot of cool things to talk about from it and like different things it brought to the surface. And was a kids movie like I've never seen before. And was good for a Halloween movie because it creeped me out. But Hannah's got almost the exact opposite opinion of.
I will agree that it's like nothing I've ever seen. And I will agree it's going to be like nothing I will ever see again.
Oh my gosh. Well, is that a positive? Or are you just wording it that way?
It's a positive that I will never watch something like that again.
Well, I'm glad I could introduce this to you. You're welcome. I am taking credit for the fact that I chose this film. Okay, can I say though, we also were gonna watch the Spookly movie.
That would have been better.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You like looked at it for 1 second and said no. And this
that is only because of the format it's in. Because that would have bugged me the whole time. What's that called?
It's like 3:4 or 4:3 or something.
Yeah, so instead of filling up the screen, it's like this tiny box that you have to watch it from. It looks like you're watching it on like a Nintendo DS or something, or a Nintendo 64. That's no, not even that one. What's the Game Boy? That's the one I'm thinking of. It's like watching it on a Game Boy. Like that's the size of the screen
Hannah,
in your screen.
do you want to know a fact about me and why that
Yeah.
doesn't? Here's all you need to know on why that would never bother me. I'm the type of person that when I watch YouTube, whether it's on my phone or whether it's on the computer, I don't put it in full screen.
Okay, but that's different because it still fills to the side of the screen on like in the top, you know?
Well, but the thing is that in 4.3, it filled from the top to bottom. It just didn't fill from side to side.
On my phone, it did not fill from top to bottom.
On your phone? Oh, on the computer,
Yeah.
it did, I think.
Mine was just a little box inside of a huge black box. And I was like, I can't even see what's happening. Why would I want to watch this? But I would bet money on the fact that that would be more interesting to me. I think Spookly's a great story. We read it at the pumpkin patch. Hello.
Yeah,
But I just didn't want to watch it shrunk.
at our pumpkin patch near Grand Forks, North Dakota, there is a little, not a maze, but it's like a little storybook path. And it's the story
Forest adventure.
Yeah, and it is the story of Spookly the Square Pumpkin, which is now a hit film on Netflix. It has a Christmas version. And you walk through and you get to read the book as you go and experience it, and it has little questions and prompts. So that was also one of our almost films that we watched. So I think we made the right decision, but that's just me.
I think we did not, but that's just me.
I'll run through our social media, but first, we just want to thank you for making it through another season with us on the You Talking to Me podcast. Come back in November. We're not taking a long break here for you. For us, it's a little bit because we record ahead of time, but we will be back the first Monday of November and I'm going to give you a little sneak peek. It's going to be sports movies. So if you saw on our Instagram a couple weeks ago, we had little polls of what types of sports you want to see in the movies. And I'm going to leave those as surprises until you see either the sneak peek on Instagram or each week you see it, you will find out which the winners are. The first two films of the season or of the month were already picked out, but the last three were not. And so that is thanks to you guys, you people out there. You got to choose which ones we were kind of watching. But I just want to say thank you for participating in that. Thank you for listening. Hannah, I know you are with me on saying that this has been a very fun experience for us, and without you, we couldn't do it. Well, we could, because I mean, we're not getting paid or anything, but we appreciate having listeners and having a reason to continue doing this to season 3.
Yeah, we're excited, and season 3 will be good because obviously first we just said that sports are coming up, which woohoo, and then right after that it's the holiday season, so you better be ready for some holiday movies. And then we'll keep 2022 a surprise for what we have planned, but
secrets. All right, so with that, you can email us suggestions, because that's what one of the first movie of November was, a suggestion from one of our viewers. So you could have one of your films or TV shows be one of our suggestions. You could email us at youtalkingtomepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram at youtalkingtome.podcast. Follow us on Twitter at youtalkingtome11, because we're both number 1. And even though we know how to change it now, thanks to one of our viewers, I kind of like it. So we're going to keep it. And follow us, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Give us ratings on the other platforms. We are, as of a couple weeks ago, on Amazon Music now. So you can listen to our podcast there if for some reason you just haven't been doing it anywhere else, or you just don't like it anywhere else. You can go on Amazon if that's easier for you. You do you, people, but I do still want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like our videos. Hit the notification bell. If you're watching on your phone, change the notification settings in your settings app to on so that you know when we post even though it's very consistent at 10 a.m. on Mondays Eastern. So with that, I think that's everything.
I think that's everything. Yeah. Happy Halloween whenever that comes out. That's my favorite holiday.
Woo!
Okay, well, with that, my name is Hannah.
And I'm Rachel.
And this is the You Talking to Me podcast. We'll see you in season 3, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.